Welcome to episode 8 of the Between Two Brands podcast. Man, I love that theme song, and we're already at episode number 8. Now, got a couple things I want to talk about today, and then of course our guest. But before we do, let's go ahead and pay the rent, as we like to do around here. Hey, who doesn't love a podcast? Well, obviously you do because you're here. Better yet, who doesn't love an industry podcast that gives you a behind the scenes look at what's really happening in the industry we all know and love? Well, thanks to our good friends over at PPAI, they have just launched a brand new podcast called Voice and Force. Now, what's so special about this podcast? Thank you for silently asking that to yourselves. Voice and Force is hosted by PPAI's digital media manager, Colette Williams, and it's a limited, totally bingeable, and targeted for each season to ensure that there's a specific purpose and value for members. Now, the first season is all about leading PPAI 100, and it's going to help members make sense of the list and, just as important, get the most out of that program. Now, I've actually listened to almost all the episodes at this point, and it really opened my eyes to not only the origins of PPA 100 and how the numbers translate into actual impact. The episodes are tight, they're informative and consumable, and they clock in at about 20 minutes each. So pretty wise investment of your time, if you asked me. Hey, you want to learn more? Of course you do. Head over to ppai.org/podcast and go ahead and binge season 1, Leading PPAI 100. All right. So we begin episode number 8, and I was looking for what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about something about branding today. Now, I'm like you, I'm pretty loyal to brands. When it comes to cars, I generally lean toward either Acura or Infiniti. When it comes to televisions, I generally lean toward LG. Appliances, the same, so on and so forth. But as egg prices, that's right, eggs. We're going to talk about egg branding here, folks. As egg prices have begun to rise, I'm not sure I'm as loyal as I thought I was. So I eat a ton of eggs, like so many eggs, it's ridiculous. I did the math. I average, no joke, probably 16 eggs a week. That's correct. I eat 2 a day. Most weekdays, now on the weekend, I'll scramble 2 or 3 up every morning. Um, I like it. I've always liked eggs, but it's clean protein. It keeps me eating healthy and so on and so forth. So I love eggs. Thankfully, I really like eggs. Now, when I started going all in on eggs about a year and a half ago, I started with your general issue Kroger store brand eggs. But then a friend talked to me about these things called happy eggs. And of course, they were quite a bit more expensive. Kroger eggs at that point were clocking in at about $1.99. Happy eggs were almost 3 times that, almost exactly 3 times that at $5.99. But when I had them, they're really, really good. Now they're all free range, some are organic. They even have these cool blue eggs, which I didn't know chickens laid blue eggs, but they're pretty good. But so, like I said, Kroger was $1.99 a dozen. The happy eggs, the standard issue organic or not non-organic, but free range ones, about $5.99. And I figured, you know what? About 50 cents an egg, that is not bad. That is not bad at all because they did taste so much better. Now it was $7.99 for organic and $9.99 for the fancy ass blue ones. Now, we are now in an age, as you know, if you go to the grocery store, we're in an age of egg scarcity. Eggs already cost today, as I record this on March the 4th. Eggs already cost 40% more than they did on January 1st. Obviously, we know it's because of the bird flu and things like that. But I guess what it's taught me, it reveals I didn't have the brand loyalty eggs I thought I did. So I've bought, sometimes they don't have the happy eggs. So I've bought Vital Farms. I've bought Pete and Jerry's. I've bought Eggland's Best. I don't know where Eggland is. I don't know if I want to go visit, but sounds like a pretty eggy place. I've even bought, like I said, the low rent Kroger eggs. And one point during the last 2 months, when the eggshells were completely wiped out at my local grocer of my choosing, I almost bought quail eggs, but they were so small and super expensive. But all the eggs are so expensive now. Your standard issue Kroger eggs, if they have them, are running about 6.99 a dozen. So they've certainly tripled in price, more than tripled. But I get sucked in by all the terms: organic, free range, pasture raised, cage free, farm fresh. Aren't all eggs kind of farm fresh? All natural. What the hell does that mean? Aren't all eggs pretty much natural? Okay, it's an egg. So, because we're in that age of egg scarcity, all eggs have become something of a premium. So, at this point, I'm just buying eggs if I can find them. As much as I love and prefer happy eggs, uh, it's no longer this brand loyal. I'm not loyal to the brand right now, and I don't know if that returns once egg scarcity stops, egg prices drop. I don't know if that continues or not. So will I stay loyal to the happy eggs? I don't know. I really don't. But I wanted to know if you're loyal to specific brands that are commodities. And a couple I thought of were eggs, obviously, gas. Are you loyal to a specific station? Take the fact that you might get sent you back here from a loyalty program, but does gas station matter to you, or is it proximity? What about grocery store? Again, is it a specific grocery store you like? Maybe it's a Whole Foods or something of that nature, or is it the grocery store that's closest to me? I think as we have this time of egg scarcity, it does teach me at least a little bit of a lesson about being brand loyal, because now that I can't be loyal to a brand, I don't know if I ever will be loyal to an egg brand again. I thought that was interesting. That's why I talked about it. Hey, you know what else is interesting? Many people know how to build a business, but few truly understand not only when to sell your business, but the process involved to make sure you find the right partner and maximize the return on your investment. Now, honestly, you really need an expert, especially one that has promotional products industry experience, and which is where you want to contact our good friends over at Certified Marketing Consultants. Jamie Watson and her amazing team have decades of experience facilitating private company sales in the branded merchandise space. Let them help you evaluate if it's time to sell your business. Reach out to them at info@certifiedmarketing.com for a confidential discussion today. All right, let's get to our guest right now. And today's guest needs absolutely no introduction, so please allow me to waste a little bit of your time, my time, and her time by introducing her anyway. She has been a dedicated part of the promotional products industry since 2010. That is 15 years if you're keeping score at home. Before finding her place in the industry, she navigated a hodgepodge of jobs with a love hate relationship, ultimately bringing her background in associations and nonprofit work into the world of branded merchandise. Over the years, she has had the opportunity to meet and work alongside some of the best people in the industry, contributing to multiple regional and national associations, including working for PPAI, before stepping into her current role as executive director of the Premier Group, a trusted network home to some of the top companies in the promotional products industry. Outside of work, she's a proud mother of two, recently embracing the empty nester life and navigating the wild ride, and I'm going to get tense here, perimenopause with humor and grace. Please join me in welcoming the lovely and talented Dana Geiger. Dana, thank you so much for taking the time and being kind of dumb enough to appear on this podcast of mine.
Well, Bill, thanks for asking me. Thanks for that intro. It makes me sound seasoned, if you will.
You know what? I perfectly seasoned. It
Mm.
was a perfect introduction because you wrote it and provided it to me.
Well, yeah,
Um,
with some help.
Now, you know the drill here. Hopefully, you have a couple topics we can talk about. And then I have some questions that I'd like to ask awkwardly to help people get to know you who may not know you in the industry. So I'm pretty excited about that. But before we
All
get into
right.
that, do you have anything you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I do. So I know that I am podcast guest number 8, and
Numero ocho.
yes, thank you. I wonder what qualifies someone to be a guest on this podcast. How do you ensure that you're going to get a good conversation? And then really step 2 is who would be your ideal guest, like the real get, if you will.
Oh, good. Okay, good question. When I started formulating what this podcast would be, I really thought this part would be the easiest, and it's turning out to be the most difficult. So thank you for contributing to that.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so what qualifies someone to be a guest? I've clearly started out leveraging my industry relationships with people I know and like. And that ran out at number seven. So here you are. No, it's people I've had easy conversations with. It's people that, you know, in the world of social media, people think they know someone. They think they know a Nick Latour. They think they know a David Schultz. They think they know a Dana Geiger. And I thought, what better way than to ask some kind of awkward, never want anybody to look foolish or silly, and I certainly don't want to look like a jerk, but to ask questions that nobody's really asked. So people get to talk a little bit about themselves on a much deeper level. And so, what qualifies someone to be a guest? Someone I think is going to roll along and have some fun with it. So,
Okay.
yeah, I actually have a list of people that will never be on this podcast because I don't think they could stop taking themselves too seriously. And that's okay. That's nothing against that person. That this my podcast isn't for everybody. There's no podcast that's for everybody. My dream get,
Yeah.
um, I don't know if I should say,
Okay.
but
That's
because I'm me, I'm going to. There's a couple people I definitely want to get on the podcast, and I will at a time of my choosing. Well, let me before I answer that, I've purposely not asked some people who people thought would be on the podcast right away. I've not asked Danny Rosen, and I've not asked like a Mark Graham or Catherine Graham, and I've done that purposefully. I want them on the podcast, and no
You're
question,
saving
I want
them.
them.
You're saving
I'm
them for a bigger audience. I don't blame you.
I'm
I don't
I'm
blame
saving them. I'm saving them for a lean week.
you.
But my dream get is I would like to get Tim Andrews on the podcast, and I figure from ASI once I get a few under my belt, I'll probably a few more under my belt. I'll reach out to him. Obviously, Drew Holmgreen from PPAI. I'd like to get him on the podcast. I'd actually like to get some people outside the industry that are really well known. I mean, I'd like to get a couple like musicians on the podcast. A couple of them, not like the highest grade musicians, but musicians, and talk about branded merchandise with them and what it means to them,
That'd
especially
be
as
cool.
music has evolved. So I'm working on a couple things there, and there's a couple dream gets there. Not Ed Van Halen since he's no longer walking the planet, but that would
I
be
knew
my
you'd
dream
work that
get.
into the conversation somewhere, by the way.
I have to. Let me ask you, you've listened to a few of the podcasts.
I have.
Who would you like to see squirm in five easy questions?
Oh gosh. Gosh, that's a really tough one. I don't know. You've had some entertaining guests before me. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I can't
Okay.
answer that. I'll listen though. I will follow
Suggest. Hey,
along. I've
please.
been, I've been enjoying the podcast thus far. I like it when you ask irreverent questions. Hopefully you got them out of your system before I agree to this.
Oh, absolutely. The
No,
questions
I
I
don't
have for
trust
you
you at all.
I wouldn't try. I don't even trust me. Why would you?
I don't know. I don't know who I'd like to see on your podcast, but I'll be watching. I'll be watching.
Well,
It
I'll
would
tell
be
you what.
interesting to get people outside the industry, though. I really kind of love that lens. I've always been a huge proponent of the fourth wall being broken down in our
Yeah.
industry, if you will. And so I think that would be
I
intriguing to a lot of people.
I only want though people outside the industry if they are fairly well known. And I know that's kind of a weird objective. I don't want like some mid-tier influencer that three people know. That means nothing. And I don't think it adds a ton of value or adds enough, at least for what I want, adds enough gravitas to the situation where we can talk seriously about promotional products and I can get goofy with them at the end. And we talk about guests. It's a good time as any to go ahead and plug next week's podcast, which would be episode number 9. It is going to be the dramatic return of one Kirbeth Hasseman. Next
Oh,
week, yeah, next week we're going to do our annual Powerhouse Women of Promo podcast. So it'll be just that, probably no easy questions, although I'm going to find a way to work some sort of discomfort rapid fire for Kirby in there. But yes, next week is going to be the Powerhouse Women of Promo, our annual, I think it's the 7th annual Powerhouse Women of Promo. list.
No doubt that will bring listeners. Well, you'll be reunited. Have fun.
It will be, and it will feel so good. Do you have any
Hard
other
not to
topics
break
we
into
should
song.
discuss?
Yeah, so as a
Yeah.
self-proclaimed marketer, right, specifically in our space, but I
Yeah.
have again two sides to the question. What common challenges do you think brands face
hmm
today? Not necessarily
hmm
in our industry companies, but and then the second piece is that if you had to say what was one of the biggest challenges distributor companies are navigating right now, what would you? Two different topics, but I sit in
Okay.
a room with a lot of distributor owners and they're always,
Yeah.
kind of chatting at this level. And so I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah. Okay. So common challenges of just brands in general. I think the most common one I see is not really understanding who the hell you are, and not being true to what your brand is. And what I mean by that is understanding who your target audience is. And by target audience, I mean people who are likely to buy from you. There are people who will always buy from you because they love you and that you've brainwashed them successfully for years and years and years, and that's great. There's people who will never buy from you because you have a beard or whatever, and you're never going to convert them. You want it, so focus on that sweet spot of people who are likely to buy from you. Once you identify who that target audience is and how they're likely to buy from you, then you need to start thinking about what do they expect from your brand, from a product perspective, from an experience perspective, from a marketing perspective, and I mean at every touch point, and then start delivering on that consistently. So brands too often only focus on the marketing, in that's how, our brand is this. But if you're selling advanced technology, for example, and I go to your website and it doesn't reflect that, it's not congruent. You're not being authentic to your brand. And so I think that's a mistake I see brands doing far too often, is just not understanding what their brand is and making sure that it permeates every single touch point throughout the organization, from customer service all the way up to the person in charge. As far as distributor, what was the question? What common challenges are they facing that I'm seeing from a
Yeah,
marketing
yeah.
perspective?
Yeah, from a marketing perspective. Yeah.
I think distributors have a very difficult job. Every, if we say that there's 25,000 distributors in the United States ish, all selling the same exact product from the same exact suppliers at probably about the same price. Maybe there's a price break here and there because they're with somebody like the Premier Group or a large distributor organization. But for the most part, it's not dramatically different. So when you're selling Coca-Cola and it tastes the same everywhere, you need to start asking the question, why would anybody buy from me? And I don't think distributors ask themselves that question enough and then market to the likely answer to that question. And what I will tell you is it's not creativity. I find it always amusing when people say, well, people buy from me because I'm creative. Well, if you're telling yourself that, you don't get to say that. That's for your clients to judge if you're creative or not. And I've run into so many distributors who say, "Yeah, we're super creative," but you're just bringing products that your competition has already shown. So how creative are you? So I think the biggest challenge is figuring out who you are in the marketplace and the value add, because unfortunately, and I still find the industry pretty magical. I'm sure you do as well.
I do.
But you have large companies like 4imprint, who a lot of people hate. They've actually done the industry a big service by all their advertising. They've made people very aware of our industry, which is fantastic. But it's not hard to get a writing instrument with a logo on it, a one color imprint logo on it. So don't try to compete with 4imprint. What else can you bring to the table in terms of the overall experience, the delivery mechanism, tying it in with what your prospective client is doing from a marketing perspective throughout their organization? You got to find ways to do that. You've got to find ways to fit in and augment what they're doing, as opposed to saying, "Hey, do you guys want some bags with the logo on it?" Because everybody does that.
Great answer.
Well, I don't
Great
know
answer.
about that. It was kind of a rambling answer.
No, no, no. I think ultimately it's the same. It's understanding your audience, right? What they need, whether
Yep.
um
Yeah.
so yeah, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate
Well,
your lens.
Well, here's one. Here's if you're a distributor and you're in a rural area. Rural is one of those words I have a hard time saying. Rural area. If you're in a
Apparently.
rural area, you don't need to try to sell them super bougie, high-end stuff. That's probably not what your audience wants. They're going to want very fast turns, quick, down and dirty promotional products that are effective. By the same token, if you're in an upscale cosmopolitan area, they're not going to want cheap plastic shit that people in a rural area might gravitate towards. And that's not to castigate one audience or the other. It's just understand your audience, understand what your role is in your community and your broad community of the people who are likely to buy from you.
That's Bill Petrie, and that's my shtick.
I approve that message. All right. Speaking of approval,
Mm-hmm.
I have some questions I'd like to awkwardly ask
Mm-hmm.
you. Can we get to know
Mm-hmm.
you, Dana Geiger, a little bit?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Ready.
According to my notes, you are the executive director of the Premier Group, an exclusive network of promo elites.
Mm-hmm.
What's the secret handshake, and at what point do members get access to the underground bunker filled with the industry's best kept secrets? Also, quick follow up, what are the secrets? Are we talking real reason stress balls exist? The exact number of writing instruments left in hotel conference rooms each year? The names of the shadowy figures who decide which colors will be on trend every year? What is it, Dana? Let's hear the
Oh my
secrets. Let's go.
gosh. Well, thank you, because I love to talk about Premier Group. I am the executive director, which means I get to sit in a room with a lot of really smart people, whether it be distributor owners or supplier leaders on a daily basis, and kind of hear these types of questions being asked and answered. What's the secret handshake? Oh my gosh. Well, so let me tell you a little bit about Premier Group. We
Okay.
are known as a buying group in the industry. We were founded in 1997, but we're really a trade association, much like PPAI or a regional association. And so to me, that distinguishes us because it's a true membership partner between our suppliers and our distributor members. There is no secret handshake, no special knock. Um, and the secret sauce within the group really lies within the members. And I know that sounds a little cheesy, but it really is a brain trust, a collaboration of like minded, kind, generous entrepreneurs that want to grow their business and then simultaneously work with others to grow theirs. That's the value proposition.
Well, I'd love to make fun
It
of your
sounds
answer, but
so
I actually,
boring, but I love it.
no,
I really,
I actually, go ahead.
no, I'm done.
I actually love your answer because I actually know quite a few of the distributor members, you know, quite a few of the supplier members of Premier Group, and they do talk and fawn over the group. And one thing that always resonates when I talk to someone specifically regarding the Premier Group, and this is a reflection of you and your leadership, and certainly all the supplier and distributor members, is people care. There are numerous
Mhm.
committees within the Premier Group that focus on certain aspects of everybody's business, and it really becomes this brain trust. So it's actually what
Mhm.
you have really cultivated at Premier Group, pretty damn impressive. All right. That was
Well,
two
thank you
nice
for that. I
questions.
don't give me the credit though. I really am just the steward. Our members are the lifeblood of the organization. So I thank you for that. That I love to hear
Okay.
that. When I hear it from others, it really resonates because it's important and it means a lot to me.
But when you hear it from me, it means nothing. Got it. Credit rescinded. Um, you describe your pre-promo career as a hodgepodge of jobs with a love-hate relationship.
Ugh.
What's the one job that looking back makes you say, "Wow, that was a terrible life choice," and there's a specific bonus if it involves any sort of mauve uniform?
So yeah, I did. I feel like I did it all. I had a pre-college work career and then a post-college work career. And I'm not sure which one I prefer, but I did work at Steak and Ale and I wore a mauve shirt. This was like 1993. It was in a bow tie, so maybe that counts. But post-college, I think the biggest mistake or the job that didn't suit me, and there's many people that hold a job like this, because I was a headhunter for a company.
Ooh.
And oh, I wasn't good at it. Did I lose you for a minute there? Sorry.
No,
Apparently I'm
no.
bad at technology. It just wasn't me. It was just, felt like I was trying to call people and talk them into roles, and it just felt wrong. It lasted about 5 months before I decided to go back to school. And then, yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I'm
But
particularly
that's what.
fascinated by. I'm sorry, I'm going
Oh,
to
go
interrupt.
ahead.
I'm
No, you got a
particularly
follow-on
fascinated
question for
by.
steak and ale?
I do because I couple funny. First of all, I grew up in Dallas, so big steak and ale. I think that's where they were headquartered when they were still around. And
Yeah, that's
uh,
true.
quick quick question about the sneeze guard. How off over the salad bar? How often did one have to clean said sneeze guard?
I don't think you should ask questions you don't want answers to.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that the restaurant practices of the 90s would please many people.
Okay. So
Yeah.
the other thing about steak and ale is, do you know how much it would cost in 1990, let's say $1994, for example,
Hmm.
if one's parents, hypothetically, almost forced their son and future daughter-in-law to have their rehearsal dinner at Steak and
Stop
Ale
it.
until they refused to the point that it didn't happen?
Stop it. Is that right? Is that what
That
you're?
is correct.
Oh my gosh. I'm so
My
sad you didn't say yes.
I'm not. My parents were pretty keen on having
A
the
mushroom
rehearsal
stuffed
dinner
fillet.
yeah, at Steak and Ale. I suggested why not class it up and go to Bennigan's next door, and
Sister.
I think the conversation devolved from there.
That's amazing. I fully support it. If it were still around, I would try and talk my kids into that.
Okay. Well, no. All right. Hey, you very uncomfortably mentioned that you are in perimenopause, which is premenopause for those of you who don't know.
Self-diagnosed, by the way, but sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you get to transfer one perimenopause symptom to every single male in the promotional products industry for 24 hours. Which delightful symptom are we experiencing in its full soul-crushing glory?
Oh my gosh. I don't, I really like all my friends, male and female, in the promotional products industry. So, I brought that into my bio because I think it's a tongue-in-cheek way to kind of broach the topic of like, I've never been one to disparage my age, and I've moved into a new season, I call it, in my life. And with that comes some changes. And there's things that I used to be really good at, and I'm not so good at anymore. And so I think probably one of the biggest things that I've attributed, and I've again self-diagnosed, is brain fog. I used to be able to spin a lot of plates at the same time, never have to write a lot down, and so that's not the case anymore. And so I think that's been one of my in my role, trying to move back and forth between different tasks has become challenging. But I would say the upside of that, Bill, is that I'm better in those tasks. And so,
Mhm.
but the question at hand is what symptom? Probably the 3 a.m. mind chatter that wakes me up and I can't go back to sleep because I have like, worry about something that's ridiculous. So that would
If
be what I would inflict on people that haven't had the joys.
okay,
Just so
so if
you could
that's
have
what
some
you're
empathy.
yeah, so if that's what you're inflicting, I might be in perimenopause because that happens to me every flippin' night.
Does it really?
So
Oh,
yes.
see, solidarity. That's what I've always
Uh,
appreciated about our
all
relationship, Bill.
right. All right. Yes, absolutely. Hey, Dana,
Mm,
you're officially an empty nester.
I am.
What is the one thing you pretend to miss about having kids in the house but are secretly overjoyed? I have a list for you. Yeah, so you have to pick from the list. A, the thrill of discovering half-eaten granola bar fossilized under the couch. B, the suspense of opening the microwave oven and not knowing if you find an abandoned cup of ramen or a full-scale science experiment. C, the random 11:30 p.m. Hey mom, I need 47 cupcakes for tomorrow emergency? Or D, perhaps just the general constant background noise of doors slamming, Wi Fi struggling, and someone yelling mom from another room like you're their personal butler?
I am an empty nester. It's like you have a camera on in my house. What do I secretly not miss? Is that the question?
Yep.
I I love that my house stays clean, with the exception of this disaster off to my right over here. I love that the house stays clean. I don't miss the messes, but
Yeah.
I do miss the noises. I would have told you a year ago or 2 years ago that I wouldn't miss the noise. I miss the noise. It's deafening silence sometimes.
I get that. We're empty nesters here, as you know, and so
I do
trust
know.
me on the clean house. I'm with you on the
Uh,
clean
I
house.
will say
I
though, it
love.
wasn't the granola bars for me. I found one time about 7 apples. I used to put apples in my kids' lunches, and so instead of just throwing them away at school and letting me think they ate them, I found them under she's gonna kill me, my daughter's bed, like
Mhm.
all at once, and I was like, huh,
Kind of gross.
that's
Our
awesome.
the issue at our house were around vessels of food. It wasn't so much food itself, it was bowls and cups.
Oh, sure.
Um, Also, it was always I'm usually first one up in the morning. It was always nice to come downstairs and see three-fourths of a can of Pringles sprinkled on the couch, where someone had made love to that can of Pringles and fell asleep, and then went up to their room and left someone else for the sloppy seconds. All right, last
Oh, so your
question.
boys love the Pringles too. I see you pass that along.
Yeah, I don't eat them anymore, but whatever.
I know, that's why you're
All
so
right,
fit. Good for
hey,
you.
yeah, so fit. Hey, you're a big foodie. And
I
I know
am.
you love the long, lingering dinner with cocktails. So let's go full fantasy here. I want you to describe your absolute dream dinner scenario, but we're going to be very specific. So first, I want 5 people other than you would like to dine with, preferably from the industry. And then we're going to assign roles to these people.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I do love the theater, as you know,
Yep.
of a long, lingering dinner.
I
Who
think
are
we both
five?
do.
Yeah, right. We've talked about this.
Yep.
Who are 5 people? I'm really
Mhm.
struggling to choose five.
You're going to
Uh,
have to.
really? You're gonna make
Hmm.
me choose five?
Yep.
The problem is I've had so many different roles. Like I have five from this community and five from this community. You're killing me, Bill.
I know.
Um, Gosh, I don't know that I can. Can I just? I know. I'm not playing along with you, am I? At all. All
You're
right,
not.
fine.
Because here's the thing, kids. I gave Dana the option. Do you want to see the questions in advance? Because I want to give
I
everybody
know,
that
and I
option. If
just
you want to see the questions, and not only did she get the questions in advance, she got them 48 hours ago. So she's had plenty of time to come up with her dream dinner guest list. So if I had feelings, and thankfully I'm in the promotional products industry, so I don't have human emotions. But if I did, I'd feel something bad right now.
I particularly didn't ruminate on these questions too much because I wanted to be able to answer them pretty naturally. And I did see this
Okay.
question. I was like, I'm not going to choose five. I'm going to say that I want a buyout of a restaurant. I want a
Okay.
buyout of
Okay.
Nobu.
Okay, perfect. I
That's what I
accept your
want.
answer. I accept your answer. So there'll be how many people? How many people are at this Nobu dinner? 100? Just a nice
No,
round number?
25. 25. I'll
25.
limit it to
Okay.
25. Yeah.
Okay. Now, of the 25 people, there are 6 specific roles that someone's going to have
Yeah.
to play during the dinner. I do need people here, and I'm not going to accept I don't know for an answer.
Nah, I feel like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm not going to play
Um,
along.
you,
Rate
you
your
have to.
games.
You have to.
Okay.
Number one, the early overdrinker. Who's the first person to get cut off from ordering another round, and what's the exact moment you realize, yeah, we should switch them to water?
Bill Petrie.
Okay, that was not the correct answer. Um, okay, fine. I will accept that answer. Low-hanging fruit.
Oh, my favorite
Okay.
phrase.
The mid-dinner existential crisis. Who has one glass of wine too many and suddenly turns into a philosopher, dropping way too serious a life question onto the group? Like, are any of us really happy? Like, really happy?
That's been me before. I'm dropping my
Oop, you
AirPod again.
you dropped your headphones and therefore your microphone. So I didn't hear your
It's
response to
it's a
that.
sign. It's a sign that I'm not supposed to answer these questions. You realize, um, oh gosh, Bill, this is mean. These are not supposed
It's
to
not
be
mean.
mean. I feel like that could be me. That might be my
Okay.
role, asking those
Okay.
like one glass
Okay.
in, getting real deep,
So
and everyone's like, just
so
shut up,
you've
Dana.
we've got 4 more to go, which
Oh
means
my
you've
God.
picked the 2 easiest ones. So all right, here we
I
go.
don't
The
like this
person
question.
I know, I don't either. The person who thinks they're the sommelier, who has actually zero wine expertise, but still insists on choosing the table, making direct eye contact with the waiter while saying, "We're looking for something bold yet approachable."
No, I don't know these people. I don't know these
Hmm.
people. I
That feel
don't.
okay. I'm going to go ahead and help. Can I help?
Please,
And
please.
I
You
say
know this
this with
person?
love. I
Okay.
say this with love. This feels like a Samantha Cates. As much as I love Sam, I think she would do that. And I know Sam loves her gin, by the way. But I think Sam, I could see Sam like kind of coordinating. Okay, I want wine at this dinner. I'm going to coordinate it.
Well, so she can take control of the table, but I feel like she's actually never led me to a wrong choice,
Well,
food or
hey,
wine.
just because she thinks she's a sommelier doesn't mean
I
she's
don't
going to
know.
lead you to the wrong choice. All
Well,
right. The let me just try one bite thief who orders a sad, responsible meal but keeps stabbing their fork into everyone else's plate like an unsupervised toddler.
I would have said that's Sam Cates, actually.
Okay, you want to move
In
Sam
the
Cates to
most
that?
loving way. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
'Cause she
so
loves to
Sam
take
Cates
one
is
bite.
that.
Yeah.
Who's the phony sommelier?
I don't have anything. Again, I would say that's me. I think I like wine more than I know about it. So
Okay,
I'm gonna take it easy out here.
I'm gonna go Mandy Rudd on that one. The only reason is because when we were on the promo cruise, Ho and I and David Schultz and Sandy were at the same table, and I may or may not have. The jury's really not clear on this. I had maybe 8 espresso martinis leading into dinner,
Oof.
and then
See? See, I
I
pegged
had
you.
an I had an espresso martini, half a glass of red wine, and combined the two. And out of that came a Tootsie Roll flavored glass of wine that Mandy herself said was delicious. So Mandy is
Oh
now the
my God.
sommelier. All
That's
right, two more.
hilarious and awful.
The number 5, let's split the check evenly scammer. Who orders the most expensive meal, adds the bonus cocktail, probably got the truffle fries, and then suggests just splitting the bill evenly.
You tell me. I don't know these
No,
people.
no, no, no. I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot
I
pole.
don't know these people. And I know the next one that's piped up behind this one. And
All right, let's leave it to our audience. So, audience,
okay.
who in the industry is going to be the let's split the check evenly scammer? And then the last one, maybe you'll be inspired. The dine and dasher, the person who conveniently goes to the restroom accidentally right when the check appears.
The alligator arms. No, I'll get the bill.
Yeah,
No, I'll get the bill.
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
This is why I love my friends in this industry. I don't know these
Right.
characters. They don't do
Yeah.
this. I know. I'm not giving you what
Yeah,
you
yeah.
want.
First of all, you're lying. We both know people who do this, and we both could identify them, but decorum prevents us from doing so. But I'll tell you what it doesn't prevent us from doing. It's thanking our good pals at PPAI for sponsoring this podcast. Hey, who doesn't love a podcast? You're listening to a podcast, so of course you love podcasts. You need to give PPAI's brand new podcast, Voice and Force, a tumble, hosted by the one and only Colette Williams, who is PPAI's digital media manager. It's a limited, totally bingeable podcast series, and it's targeted to help you understand. The first one is called Leading PPAI 100, so it helps you understand the list and how you can use it to your advantage. So head over to ppai.org/podcast to start binging season 1. Dana, I can't thank you enough for gracing all 7 of our listeners with your presence today. I hope you had fun. I'm sorry it got a little weird there at the end and uncomfortable because I was trying to have you call out people. You didn't play along. Probably a smart move on your part.
Thanks for having me, Bill. I appreciate it.